Thank you for browsing page 121. Today we're going to take a look at the box set Traveler Sector Construction Guide from Mongoose. This is for Mongoose 2nd edition. It's a thinner box than some of the others. And then there's the back of the box. This retails for $60, $59.99. And I was a little dubious about getting it, honestly. I wasn't sure I needed a lot what was in here. That's kind of a healthy price tag. And I thought, what the heck? So I did go ahead and pop for it, and here we go. As usual, good solid box. I like that. This box is not going to crush down. I like that a lot. We get a sector map in here. And this is for even subsector, or for even sector. I'll open up the map later and show. And on the back side, we have the same map, but it's blank. For even's kind of been a referee's preserve since the early days of Traveler. The idea being that they have some designated systems there and such, but it's up to the referee to really flesh this one out. There's some pocket empires. There's Zodani. There's no Imperial worlds. So you get that. So that's nice. I'll take a better look at that in just a moment. And then we get the World Map Book. And this is blank pages. I think it's 50 of them for you to draw up your world maps. Now, this, I kind of didn't see why I needed 50 of these guys in this day of home printers and Kinkos, etc., etc. I don't need a big thick pack of this, and this is a good chunk of the product. So I'm a little on the fence about that. I obviously haven't used any yet. I do use these maps. I draw worlds for my players and such. So maybe I'll get some use out of it. I'm not sure. This part of the offering I wasn't that crazy about. And then we get the... we have two books in here. One is the Sector Construction Guide, Charts and Forms, and the other is Sector Construction Guide itself. This one is just a little guide for some of the charts and forms themselves and how it's laid out. This was put together by Geir Landeskog, who writes a very good traveler book. This is out in 2022. So this is just a kind of a dry listing of the subsectors and their statistics, their trade codes, their travel codes, etc. Well, the travel codes are up to you. These are Zodani. All this is Zodani space, and then we get into the areas by subsector H. We're getting some of the other areas. So really, it's up to you. They've populated a bunch of worlds, and they've stuck them out there and said, okay, you develop them, you tell the story. So I kind of like that. I like that it's a referee's preserve. And then we get World Summary Sheet, Polity Summary Sheet, and the Sofont Summary Sheet. Now, I would have liked a couple of these, maybe as part of that tear-off pack. I don't know why I got 50 of the exact same one. The theory being that I'm going to make the world maps, but like I said, I've been doing that since the 80s. But in any case, and then we get to the meat of the book, which is the Sector Construction Guide. And this gives you an idea of how you would approach constructing your sector. So the sector, of course, consisting of all the subsectors. And this also is by Geir Landeskog. And this gives you lots of information and ideas. This is really what I bought the book for, or the box set for, was this book. I was a little disappointed. This book is only 64 pages long. But it gives you some nice tips on how to create the world, and you're creating the universe and what you're going to do in your sector. People, especially people like my group that comes from a D&D background, don't really appreciate just how big a sector is. A subsector is huge. And then when you get into a sector, it's just massive. And players don't seem to really be impressed by that fact. They just kind of take it as another, kind of a dungeon stop on the way. And that's always surprised me a little bit, because one of the things I like about Traveler is that it's much bigger setting than any kind of dungeon crawl setting. I mean, let's face it, in all of Greyhawk, in 42 years, almost 43 years of playing the world of Greyhawk, we've never really left the continent that much, a couple of times here and there, but otherwise we're on one continent. This is a setup for hundreds of worlds. But what it does give you is some really good ideas. You get a little decision tree here, how you're going to design it, why you're going to design it like you are, your system creation. It gives you your main worlds. This goes nicely with the World Creator book, the World Manual. So, atmosphere, hydrographics, temperature, social characteristics, all the stuff you're going to have to think about as you create your own system. And then the sector details. You get population pattern, native sophont, scattered settlements, pocket empires. And pocket empire ripples. This is kind of neat because it's basically how the pocket empire not only affects itself and its citizens, but how it affects everything else around it. Is it a tyrannical setup where they're trying to rob from their neighbors to enrich themselves? Or is it semi-benign where trade is really enhanced because the pocket empire exists? That's really what you're deciding. And I kind of like that about this. I do want to point out that any part of Traveler can be changed like this. I'm doing a lot of work down in District 268, and I'm changing a lot of the stuff there or just expanding on the bare bones codes that are there. The World Kalis is getting some attention from me, and some other worlds. Avastin is the world I'm centered in right now. And I'm changing some stuff based on what's been written and what I'm expanding. And I've expanded my story to make Avastin kind of a rival to Kalis, and it's going to be upgrading its starport. I think it is a Class C right now, and it wants to get to a B, so it gets more attention and maybe draw some business away from Kalis. So I'm doing all of this, but I'm doing it with the pre-printed stuff from Mongoose. Now, that being said, I liked the way this is fleshed out. I like the reasoning. I like sitting there and thinking, why am I doing what I'm doing? Even if I'm running a pre-printed sector, I can still look at this book and ask a lot of those questions. So the travel zones are part of the Traveler's Aid Society, so I'm a little confused as if there would be travel zones outside the Imperium, this far outside the Imperium. I really didn't know. That's really, I guess, the decision you'll be making. And settlement waves is also another intriguing idea. As planets in the area are settled, how do they affect their neighboring planets? Population generation, and then other factors. Is it a very dry world? Is it a very wet world? Does it have a taint in the atmosphere? Does it have hostile indigenous life? All those are questions you need to answer. What are the star properties? You're designing your main world now. So you have to figure out what the star is and how big the jump shadow is and all that stuff. All the stuff that you can sit down and do as a GM if you've got time on your hands. And believe me, this is how I used to occupy a lot of my time early in Traveler. I used to make my own sectors and subsectors. Those, unfortunately, are long lost to history. But the fun was to just kind of get your thinking going and decide what you could and couldn't do. And even if I didn't use it, it at least was something that I was thinking about and generating for Traveler. Now for Avalar, this is a world summary, Avalar in for even 1636, and here's the planet. So they give you a nice sample, and what they do is they give you ideas of how you could design your thing, and then they give you the example, and the example is Avalar. I thought that was very well done. I like the structure of this book. I enjoyed, now we have the polity summary sheet again. I could have used some of these separate. I realized I could use a piece of notebook paper, but still. So the Avatar Consulate is an example of polity, a political body. And here we are. They're a pocket empire not terribly far from the Zodani Consulate. They're military, and then the finalization, and then we get the summary sheet. So there we go. They get the worlds around Avalar as part of the Avalar Consulate, and then the summary sheet, and then the sophont design. You want to make up your own sophonts? This is the way to do it. Really good info in here. I really enjoyed this. Sophont summary sheet right there. And then an example sophont, which I like. Sophont, of course, intelligent creature. And by and large, I enjoyed this. I like this book. I enjoyed reading this book a lot. There we go. You can even have Tlingza travelers. Tlingza travelers if you want. And then the sector finalization. And then the last page filling out the finalization, and then the back of the cover. So by and large, I really, really liked this book. I'm kind of scratching my head why I needed a box set for this. I am scratching my head about that big pad of world maps. I would have liked that to be broken up and give me 4 or 5 different TAS forms instead of just the one. But I did like the sector map. I've got the 4 even sector map. I'm going to unfold that and show you in a minute. And then I'll show you what's on the other side of that map. Okay, here's a look at the sector map itself for 4 even. I love a good big sector map like this. You're not getting a ton of info, of course, because this is a referee's preserve. You have to add all the information here. And now I'm going to show you what's on the other side of this sheet. This is the flip side of the sector sheet, and as you can see, it's blank. That's kind of neat. If I really want to make my own sector, I certainly have the format with which to do it. So I could absolutely fill this out with whatever I want, mark it right on there, and do whatever I want to do. Again, I'm not sure I'm going to, but that's me. I'm not the guy to mark up my books and stuff that originally came with the packaging and stuff like that. But I don't know. I like the idea of having the blank map. Maybe sometime I will do something with it. So that's it. That's a look at the sector construction guide from Traveler. I definitely saw some value to this. I especially liked the larger book, the 64 pages. That gave me a lot of ideas for what I'm doing currently around Collis and in District 268. So it was worth it for that. But I don't know that I needed this one in physical form. This one probably would have been one I could have done okay with just as a PDF. I didn't really need the maps. I really don't need those world map books, that big pad that I could draw on. So in that end, I felt I could have gotten a little bit more value for my money than what I got. It's still a good product. I absolutely recommend it. But this might be one you might want to just go ahead and get in PDF. It'll be a lot cheaper. And if you're not looking for the sector maps or anything, you get all the information on the sector building and such. And that was really what I was interested in and what I found best about this book. So that might be a way to go. But I'll put a link to this below, both at at Mongoose's website, and I'll put a link to Drive-Thru-RPG if you want to go that route. It's worth it. I'm glad I have it in my library. I'm happy, but this is one I might have just bought on the PDF if I had known what was inside. But that's all I've got today on page 121. Thank you for your time. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think. Did you like this? Am I completely wrong? Is this one of the greatest box sets ever? Or could it have used a few tweaks? That's what I want to find out. Sometimes when I start discussing stuff like this in the comments with people, I rethink some things. So that's possible. But thank you for your time. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, comment, please. And take a look at the Patreon, see if you can help me out there. But that's all I've got today on page 121. Thank you for your time, and I'll see you next time.